It says Plaza Jewish out front, but apparently they want us to start on time, so we will. Welcome, I'm Claire's son. I think all of you probably know that. And the reason I'm up here officiating, getting us underway, is that my mother was very clear about what she wanted at her death. She was more clear about what she didn't want. And that clarity came through forcefully at my father's funeral, and she was sitting to my right. And as the rent-a-rabbi from that funeral home went on intoning his platitudes and the kind of meaningless stuff that's said by somebody who doesn't know the deceased, she grabbed my arm in the way that she can and said, in the voice that in someone else's, someone else would have done it sotto voce, but my mom had a unique interpretation of sotto voce. I do not want a rabbi at my funeral. So that was very clear. And it was also clear to her that she wanted people to share remembrances, to tell stories about her. And another piece of all of this was that she said, but don't tell me how much you love me after I'm gone. Tell me while I'm still alive. So I will tell you, we had a bit of a move in that direction at her 90th birthday. Many of the people here, the children of her Schwesters and her immediate close family were all together for her 90th birthday, where many of us did tell her how we felt about her. But to me, that doesn't mean we aren't allowed to talk about her now that she's gone, and an expanded pool of people who know her, but not everyone does. And so toward that end, you're going to be hearing from her immediate family. And I do want us to have an opportunity to share stories if time permits. Just for the introduction, I also wanted to let you know what you were listening to was the second movement of Beethoven's Seventh Symphony. That was Mom's favorite. She always liked the second movements, but that was her favorite of the second movements. And then a bunch of pictures that we were all able to kind of lovingly put together over the last couple of days, but a real shout out to my cousin Mark, another quasi-son of Clare. There are a lot of those, maybe, well, at least in this room, a few. And thank you, Mark, for doing that. So I'd like to bring up my sister and Claire's daughter, Robin. And her husband, Claire's son, Jeff.
I was going to be able to do that. Hi, thanks to everybody for coming. Samantha asked me the night that Mom died what I remembered as the happiest times in her life. It was a good question because Sam is an excellent journalist, and it made me happy to try to remember what it looked like to have Claire in her prime. I surprised myself by thinking about moments that weren't Aunt Claire as Schwester and matriarch, the devoted and loving sister, daughter, wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, who we all expected to nurture us, listen to us, provide a basement bedroom when somebody needed one. I find myself thinking about the moments that let her express a different side of herself. I had heard stories my whole life about dreams she'd had that had been derailed by poverty or family obligations or just ordinary life. And the other night, I remembered that there had been times when she acted on at least a few of those dreams and could just be the essential person she was, curious, intellectual, opinionated, complex, and big-hearted. Like when she was a young woman working as an executive secretary in Midtown and taking college classes, though never for credit, in Chaucer or Dickens or James Joyce. Just a week ago, she called me when I was with Lori, my sister-in-law, and she started to recite the first 4 lines of the Canterbury Tales in Middle English. This was a woman who was worried about becoming more and more forgetful, was aware that her memory was lapsing, but she remembered Chaucer. She didn't actually remember that it was from Chaucer, but she did remember the poetry, which is what mattered. Or when she was a working mother and was taking college classes again, this time in anthropology. She would take Paul and me to the Museum of Natural History or to the Bronx Zoo as part of her homework, looking for commonalities among the great apes, the early hominids, and modern man. She was like a little kid, learning new words like Australopithecus, practically inhaling a new way of looking at the world. Or when I left for college and she and Dad took their first trip to Europe, the first of a whole string of trips they made together. Mom was the most popular person in the tour group because, again, she was like a little kid learning something new, and her excitement was contagious. It was also sometimes a little confusing. When they were in Florence, she ran up to a few people on her tour group and said, "Have you seen David?" She meant the Michelangelo statue, which she had just seen and fallen in love with, but they thought that she was so excited and urgent about it that she must have lost a friend. There is a chance, though, that the happiest time of her life was later than all those other times, when she was 80 years old and decided to sell the house in Queens, pack up or get rid of all her worldly possessions, and move to a studio apartment in Manhattan. That was a transition a lot of 80-year-olds have trouble with, but Mom was clear-eyed about things like that. When she decided the house was too big for her, and there was an opportunity to move into senior housing on the Upper West Side that she could actually afford, she took care of everything. Richard came in from California to help with the packing, and Sam and I did a little of the pre-move decorating of her new apartment, but really it was all Mom. And it was the best move she ever made. She learned all the bus routes, went to museums and movies, hung out at the Key West Diner, made friends at the Williams House, joined the Yiddish club and the book club, spent her mornings doing chair exercises and then hanging out with her friends in the cafe. And she met Ralph, a wonderful man who enriched her life in every way. She used to tell me how lucky she was to have been loved not by just one kind, sweet, accepting man in her life, which was my father, but by two. So that's the time of her life I like to think of as the happiest, her 80s. It was certainly when she and I got closest. It was the first time we lived in the same city as adults. And every now and then I would call her and suggest meeting for coffee. I would walk south on Broadway and she would walk north, and wherever we met, we would find somewhere to sit. That usually meant around 105th Street. I clearly remember being with her there on a beautiful spring day outside the Silver Moon Bakery. Mom was at an outdoor table with Broadway traffic behind her, big cappuccino in front of her, chatting on her cell phone with her boyfriend Ralph, with a huge smile on her face. Almost everything about that moment, the cell phone, the cappuccino, the local daughter, the boyfriend, was new and unanticipated, and proof that life can still hold surprises even in old age. She always used to say, "I'm so lucky with my children and grandchildren," and we always used to answer, "We're lucky too."
So I'm Jeff, and in addition to being Robin's husband and Claire's son-in-law, I've had some other roles. One of those around this time of year, normally I'd boot up my TurboTax and play the role of Claire's accountant. I entertained a notion that I was going to build a little talk today around her investments, but I decided that probably didn't make sense. But another role is what I think of as morning phone call first substitute. Claire and her parents have always been close, and she's talked to them over a long time on a pretty regular basis, but over the last 5, 6, maybe 10 years, that's gotten much more regulated, much more precise. Sometime between 9:25 in the morning and roughly 9:33 in the morning, Claire expected a call from Robin. And if it came before 9:25, that was too early, she was still asleep. And if it came after 9:33, Claire clicked into her, "Oh my God, what's wrong? Where's Robin?" mode. And I was thinking about this. There's almost nothing, I would say, that's similar between Claire Marantz and Donald Trump, but there's one thing, which is they seem to both have a shared notion that outside there, it's chaos and it's carnage. If she called any one of the grandkids or her sisters or nieces and nephews and they didn't pick up the phone, she would go right into that mode of having to track down where people were. And of course, as a result, if Robin knew she couldn't make her morning phone call, I would be deputized. And I'd call in her stead. And nearly every time when she picked up the phone and knew it was me, Claire would say, "To what do I owe this honor?" And so I know people will remember her differently and at different times. And I think, a common time is around parties and annual ritual events. But I think for me and maybe for Robin, the time I'm going to think of her most is between 9:25 and 9:33 in the morning. And what I'm going to think is that the honor was all mine.
Okay, I have some notes on my phone. So when Mom, I'm Jess. I'm Claire's granddaughter, oldest granddaughter, as she reminded me often. you were my first. So when Mom asked me if I wanted to say something today, I really was genuinely not sure what I wanted to say, what you can say, which is a little ironic since, like everybody else in my family, I'm a writer, and one of the things that I write sometimes is like personal essay, but there's something about like sitting down to write that is a process of making sense of kind of what has been happening in your life, what's been happening in the world, and this isn't something that I'm really ready to make sense of yet, so it didn't feel like something that I wanted to sort of write a piece about. And so Mom said, just share an anecdote. But my experience of Grammy in recent years has not really been an anecdotal experience. It's been an experience of having conversations, often the same conversation over and over again, but which to me was a pleasure. Like I truly never got tired of explaining to her about infinity or why anybody could be religious with the brain God gave you. And so I was sort of at a loss, and what I decided, and this will probably make Mom crazy because she hates it when I tweet stuff about the family, but I went back to my Twitter feed and found like the various Grammy one-liners that I had seen fit to memorialize, and I think that they actually give a picture of just how incredibly smart and funny she was, and this really was kind of my experience of her, was having these cyclical conversations that still never got old because she was so funny and so sharp, even as she sort of started to lose the memory of whether we'd just had the same conversation 5 minutes earlier. So I wanted to share a few of these with you. Grammy called me to say happy birthday, and her first words were, "What will you give me if I don't sing?" Grammy, I take full advantage of anything I'm entitled to or not entitled to. I jokingly told Grammy we'd get her on email one day. She immediately turned to the strangers next to us and said, "Have you heard of email?" Grammy, I was saying we should go after younger men, and then I found out there's a group for that. Cougars, I'm joining. Grammy on today's mail list, which was the something that Sam used to organize for the New York Times Magazine. What's Spanx? It sounds like a kinky sex act. Me, I can't really cook complicated stuff in my place. There's not enough counter space. Grammy, don't move. Grammy, I'll allow $10 million, but nobody needs to have more than that. 2 homes and a yacht. I'm being very generous. Had breakfast with my grandma for her birthday. She wanted me to explain how bottom surgery works for transgender men. Grammy, my sister Esther always had the memory. Sam, my sister, you have other gifts. Grammy, yes, but I don't remember what they are. Even when they have hard hats, they get brain injuries. Maybe the hats are wrong. Grammy has ideas about fixing the NFL. I feel this tells you everything about my boyfriend versus my family. Justin, may I use your bathroom? Grammy, what would you do if I said no? Told my grandma I can't talk too long. She said, okay, I'll be quick. I'm hot, I'm cranky, and I'm worried. Grammy says she's not nosy because that means you're prying for gossip. I said, what's the word for prying because you think it's helpful? Love. And this is absolutely my favorite. I want this cross-stitched onto a pillow. My favorite Grammy quote. Everyone thinks that what he says has worth, and maybe to him it does, but to me it's a lot of baloney and don't waste my time. I also, like I think a lot of us did, I listened to some voicemails that I had saved, and they're mostly sort of variations on a theme. I'm not sure this is your number, I'm not sure this is the day we talk, do you know where mom is, she's not picking up her phone. But there was also, there were a few that I saved because they were particularly close to my heart, and there's one that I think really stands out. She said, Jess, hi, I hear your voice so clearly in my head and my heart, but I don't remember whether I've heard it for real. So I'm calling just to check, to let you know that this is me for real. I love you for real, and I'll talk to you soon for real. And I can certainly say that I hear her voice clearly in my head and my heart. And I will be very sorry not to hear it for real.